Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mary Bird's Backyard Garden. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mary.
Hey, Mary, you know what? Have we told everyone? That was our son that does the intro music. And that's really nice.
I love it.
Yeah, he did. We asked him when we said we were doing a podcast, we asked if he would, because he's a good musician.
Yes, he is.
We asked if he would come up with something as our podcast music.
And the interesting thing is that in the background, you can hear maybe some birds, maybe some little insects chirping.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I think he did a great job.
Did a great job. So Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
That is his guitar.
That is him. It's all him. It's really
him.
cool. It's kind of cool. I don't know if we've given him enough credit for that, Mary.
Appreciate it.
So he's got it today. Well, let's jump right in, shall we? I know you have some interesting stuff to talk about, but before we do, what's new in the garden?
It's been a extremely quiet week.
That's been a quiet week.
Yeah. Fall is arrived. Fall is glorious.
I know. It just feels good. Even here in Texas, even though it's 80s, touched at 90, it still feels like fall.
It does feel like fall, especially right now.
It does. And I think your body just starts trying to relax and do stuff around the house. And we've been busy little beavers around the house. It's been fun.
But the garden feels that way too. One of our bougainvilleas put on a huge show on the side of the house. I noticed it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then now she has dropped her leaves. She's getting ready to go to bed. Maybe a little early for our area, but seems to be her natural thing.
It is the end of October.
It is the end of October, which is I'm
crazy.
Shocked about.
It's crazy to think about that. I know.
And we were just talking, and you believe that this is episode 39
of this season. This is episode 39 of this season, which is crazy.
39.
I know.
Which is exciting.
It is. It's been a lot of fun. We enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it has gotten more enjoyable. This past half of the year has begun to get a little bit, I always say that, but I'm enjoying it more right now.
I think we're a lot more comfortable and relaxed in front of the microphones. And I'm sure if we go back and listen to episode 1 or 2, and I haven't.
It's a comedy.
It'd probably be a good thing to do, and just to kind of see how we sounded.
It would be very good. Yeah.
Well, cool. I don't really have much. I think, we've been sitting on the porch watching the butterflies, a lot of butterflies.
Migrating. Yes.
The birds they're slowing down a little bit. Birds are slowing down a bit. I was telling Mary, we were just a few minutes ago sitting on the porch, and we do have big lizards here, like really giant lizards that go across our yard. And you could see them. I mean, it's just, I think that's what dogs are chasing most of the time.
Astonishing, yeah.
It's astonishing because of how, they are a good, 8, 9, 10 inches from head to tail. They're just big. They're really big
And I
lizards.
like it when they do that head bobble.
Yeah, they do. Kind of
weird
look for stuff. And, I'm pretty sure that's what the dogs are constantly chasing out there.
Yes.
But anyway, it's been fun. We've been sitting out. It's a little bit cooler in the morning, and it's been nice.
Oh, it's been glorious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, good. You know what, Mary? Let's jump into what you got for us today. What's your topic of the day?
Well, keeping with our fall focus and treats that we're getting ready to have, one of the things that is just about this perfect time of year to have ripen is the apple crops.
Yes.
A few times that we've been able to visit up with your family in New York, around this time of year, the big thing is to go to all the farm stands and get your apples and pick up your late season items, get ready for that cold weather. And I love it in the summer too, because then you get your fresh corn.
Yep.
But the apple season is
apple season's great up in the Northeast. Yeah.
Great.
And I remember when I was young going up there too. There's a lot in the area where they lived. There was a lot of folks that were growing apples. And
absolutely.
Yeah. But it is cool. They do have some really, really nice stands up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Some,
and
not that we don't, but they have some
so fresh.
I know they just have different stuff.
They do.
Which is kind of cool.
It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so with that memory in mind, I decided that the apple tree would be terrific to talk about.
All right. I like it.
On this podcast. And as usual, I did some learning.
Of course. That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. One thing that I learned, which I was interested in, is that the wild apple is called the Malus seversii, is the primary, that's the primary, beginnings
the beginning
of our domestic apples.
Okay.
And the reason they know that is because they did a DNA sequencing in 2010, and they could trace that lineage directly back to the wild apple.
Wow.
And that was, so that apple came from Central Asia. It originated in Kazakhstan.
I don't know.
Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan. Yes.
There you go.
And also in the Tian Shan Mountains. And that is sort of in the Asian area as well. That's where the very beginnings of our apples came to be. So the Malus seversii was named by Johann August Karl Sievers, and he lived from 1762 to 1795. And even back in the history, people began to try to domesticate the crop, grow it in specified areas. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about the pecans, our native peoples would come through and they practiced a form of cultivation as well by using wildfires and so forth to create the groves of pecans and other crops. But the people that lived on the Tian Shan mountain range were the first people to really try and domesticate the apple. And that, we're talking like 4,000 to 10,000 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, a long time ago.
That's crazy.
Yes. They began to travel outside of that region when the Silk Road came into effect. And that would have been from 200 BC to all the way up to the 1400s, and so people would taste the apple while they were over there, and they would bring it with them, and they traveled westward, I suppose you could say. And the interesting thing that I was surprised by, we actually have archaeological evidence of apples all the way back into antiquity. So in Italy, up in the northeastern part of Italy, and this would have been dated to, let me see here. This would have some carbon-dated seeds.
Wow.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And they would have been from 6,570 to 5,684 BCE. They cannot at this time identify the exact genome that's in those. They aren't sure if it's wild or domesticated apples, but that's all the way in Italy. Wow. That's pretty
crazy,
cool,
yeah.
Right? The early middle to the Bronze Age, and we're talking like 3,000 to 2,000 BC, they found cultivated apples in the Middle East. And that would have been orchards and so forth.
Yeah.
So here gets a little bit interesting. apples, if you want the exact replica of an apple that you have grown, you can't grow it from seed.
Really?
Because apple trees must be cross-pollinated by 2 or more varieties growing close to one another and blooming at the same time. So the seeds are never going to come true to the apple that you're trying to grow. So somewhere along the line, people began to graft the trees. And they would take a whip or a branch of a tree that they really liked the apple from, and they would put it on a rootstock that they felt was very hardy. And we do not know when that practice began. But as far back as the Middle Bronze Age, people were already cultivating apples.
Wow, that's pretty cool that they could figure that out. Yeah, wow.
Yes. And then this is interesting too. So apple cores were found from an archaeological site in the Judean region at Sinai. And they are dated to the 10th century BCE.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like the beginning of the Iron Age. That would be 1000 to 901 before the Common Era.
Wow.
Pliny the Elder actually wrote in his book about, he lived from like 23 to 79.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those were his years in the first century, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote about how you wanted to store your apples. So he wanted you to keep them in a room that was cool and that had a window that would provide a breeze from the north so that you would get a lot of airflow.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted you to put the apples where they would be separated from one another. They don't want to touch each other. And that way they could get them to last a little bit longer.
Okay.
You know, that's pretty crazy. First century, and some of that is still true today.
It is.
You know?
That's amazing. Yeah. No Google. They didn't have Google.
They didn't have Google.
Darn. They had to figure that stuff, which is interesting because they had to just figure it out.
Yes.
That's what's kind of cool about it.
So along the way, he probably noticed other people producing it and how they would, manage their crop storage.
Right.
But even if you did everything right and kept them at a good temperature, apples do produce a specific gas that ripens everything around them. And so you might keep your apples fresh until maybe the end of the year, like at the end of December.
Yeah.
But people wanted to be able to use them after that. So what they would do is they would dry them. And then they could use them in all different sorts of ways and still get energy from the apple. And that's still in practice today. We eat apple chips and things like that.
Oh my gosh,
know.
There's apple, literally apple everything.
Apple everything. Yeah. So, the apple traveled wherever people traveled, basically. It was that important. It was a food source. It was beauty. And, it was dependable. People knew what it was. So when the people started to come over and explore the Americas and explore and colonize, they brought the apple with them. So the Spanish explorers, they brought the seeds. And when they landed along the Chilean coastline, of course, that region is very similar to where the apple was first originated, and the apples took off there. They grew very well.
Yeah.
And the colonists, actually, that came over, like the pilgrims, they actually brought apple saplings on the boats with them into the New World. And we'll see here in a little bit why that was actually considered to be important, And then in the 16th century, the French Jesuits also brought seeds with them to plant. And so those would be different varieties, all different varieties. And I got that information off the North Carolina Historic Site. Their article was called Origins of the Apple in America. Of course, the Pilgrims, like we talked about, they began to establish all those New England orchards that we think about, And the early settlers actually used the trees, the fruits, and the seeds in their trading efforts with the native people.
Okay.
Because once, everybody likes that apple.
Yeah.
They taste really good, right?
It's interesting.
And so that encouraged the trees to begin to spread into western New York as far over as like Niagara and over towards that way because of the trade efforts.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the line, we come to a very famous gentleman, and he comes to us from Massachusetts. And I'm sure that you've heard of him before.
Oh, I can guess. Is it one Johnny Appleseed?
Very correct.
Okay.
His real name
was real, by the way.
John Chapman.
Yeah.
He was
He was
real.
a real person.
A real person. And quite an astonishing character. I really do encourage you to go out there and read a little bit about him. This is just a blurb, but he was really he was different from what my thought process about him is, because I always thought that he just went around the countryside, and dispersed seeds, but he actually didn't. He was one of the original pioneer nurserymen here in our country. And what he would do is he would travel along and he would establish a nursery of seedlings. And he's well known because he did not bring the grafted trees. So at this time, we're seeing the, what would you call it? Like he knew about the grafted trees, but he decided to use the seeds instead for a very important reason. And so what he would do is he would plant a nursery of the seedlings, and then he would fence it to keep out the livestock and the wild animals. And there would be a neighbor farmer close by, and he worked out an arrangement with this neighbor. The neighbor would sell the sapling trees, and they would split the shares in the trees. And that was pretty cool, right?
That is interesting.
Pretty industrious.
Yeah, I think the stories we always heard, he just woody-doody-doo, throwing seeds on the ground wherever he went, yeah.
Well, he actually distributed apples pretty widely. He traveled through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. He went up into Ontario, Canada, and parts of West Virginia. And so he used his knowledge of the tree growing and so forth to bring this crop throughout the frontier.
Wow.
Right? So he also would exchange his apple trees to acquire clothing and household goods and a lot of things like that. And he did actually wear a pot on his head.
Oh my gosh.
for
Holy
a hat.
smokes, really?
Well, he was a traveler, you know.
Yeah.
So he figured one is as good as the other.
Oh boy. Okay. Interesting.
So the reason that he really focused on the seeds instead of the trees. So most of the people that were growing the trees were growing the apples to eat fresh out of their hand, the way we go to the grocery store and pick them up today. But like I said, if you grow from the seed, generally you're not going to get the same apple. And likely as not, you're going to get an apple that's more suited to making cider.
Oh, okay.
And in this instance, we're talking hard cider.
Hard cider, yeah.
So even the people that were in government would call back to the colonists that were coming over, bring more apples, because what would happen is, like we talked about last week, you don't always know if your water source is going to be pure and good, but you could drink your cider.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And so I really found this out, that I read this in the Smithsonian magazine. So today we're encouraged to drink water, right? And most people drink maybe 2 to 3 cups of water a day. Well, at that time in the frontiersman's life, they would drink like 11 ounces of hard cider every day.
Wow.
So if they sat down to a meal, you probably had some hard cider.
Yeah, okay.
With it.
Interesting.
And the other thing that was really important about this crop is that all along the route that the apple traveled, it brought large groups of people a food source. So here in America, we had large families, we had farming families. So every farm grew quite an extensive orchard of apples for their own enjoyment, for making the hard cider, but also they fed them to their livestock.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And that was a very valuable food source. I mean, I can think of pork as eating a lot of apples, you know. Horses probably a few apples, but not that many, I don't think.
It's interesting because I think, I don't know if you have, if I recall, I mean, the trees put off quite a few apples on each tree. So there'd probably be a pretty good amount, if you had a few trees.
If it was a well-tended orchard and you knew how to encourage, most people did know.
Yeah.
That was people came over with the knowledge of how to increase the production of the apples.
Yeah.
So
cool.
One thing I didn't mention, I was pretty surprised by, the original wild apple can get to a height of 40 feet or more. And the domesticated apple, which is Malus domestica, it could reach in the 30s, 30 feet tall. But of course, we've been through the orchards and seen the apple growing orchards in New England. They don't allow them to get
they're
tall
not tall
because
like that.
how would you harvest it?
Yeah.
But if you just let it go.
Let it go. Okay.
So they potentially could have, quite,
oh my gosh, yeah, they could have a lot.
Food stuff, yeah.
Wow.
So today, in the apple growing world, we have between 7,500 and 8,000 different cultivars that you could grow. And I thought that this was interesting as well. In 2023, there was 97 million tons of apples grown worldwide.
Wow.
I can't even.
God, that's a lot of apples.
I know.
But it is, if you think about it, though, I mean, just if you go to the grocery store, besides fresh apples, there's a lot of products that are apple somethings.
Yes.
I mean, there really is.
There's, apple cider, like apple juice.
Apple cider. There's in the bakeries, there's apple, apple pie, apple cakes, I mean, there's a lot of apple-y stuff out there.
I think we might get into that in part 2.
Nice. I like it.
But today we just touch on the apple.
Okay.
Anyways, China in 2023, they led the world. They produced 49.6 million tons annually. And Turkey and the United States, they seem to flip-flop a little bit back and forth. We generally produce about 5.2 million tons of apples per year. And then it goes ahead down. Now, the one thing that confused me a little bit as I was reading through the charts, Asia and this is like just a broadcast term. I'm not sure what Asia means. They produce about 65.47 million tons per year.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. 97 million tons of apples.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Wow. And like we said, apples, I was going to talk a little bit about this next week, but the actual ability to store the apple and transport the apple in Cambridge was beginning to be developed in 1920. And then it wasn't until 1950 that we were able to ship by rail or by a semi-truck or whatever across the country and keep the apples fresh for a while.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's really interesting that it was actually that late.
Well, they probably had to
process.
Have some type of refrigeration in the trucks and stuff, right?
You actually have to have specific humidity.
Oh, okay.
You have to have an oxygen-rich environment. You have to have the refrigeration. And there's one other component that escapes my mind right now, but yeah, it's very specific on how you're able to ship apples.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, and I think a lot, I don't want to steal anything from next week, but
that's fine.
I think Washington is the big producer, right, of apples. I know we've been up in the Northeast, but I think Washington's a big apple producer, the state of Washington. From when we were up that way, when we traveled, there's a lot of apple-y stuff up there too. There
is New England, the Pacific Northwest, and the Great Lakes region.
Okay.
Those are our three major producers for the U.S., and I was going to talk just for a minute about why that might be. So I went out on the Texas A&M AgriLife.
Our friends at Texas
site.
A&M.
Yay for A&M. Of course, here in Texas, the apple industry grows best around Lubbock, which is up in the High Plains area. And they grow best over in the Davis Mountains. And the reason for that is because it's a little bit drier, right? So all the different components like the fungal diseases and the bacterial diseases are not as present. And also they have longer chilling hours. And that's why up in the Pacific Northwest and the Great Lakes region and the New England, they could grow more variety of apples is because they are able to have more chilling hours. And so when you think of chilling hours, what we're talking about here is the number of hours between 45 degrees Fahrenheit and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're talking Celsius, that's 7.22 degrees Celsius and 0 Celsius. So those are the hours. Where we live, we have on average, we might have 700, which surprised me. That seems higher than I would have thought. But we have on average 700 hours.
Yeah, I am. Well,
it can go between 550 and 800 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Panhandle and up towards Lubbock, they might average out at 1,000 hours a year. And then you go way down to the southern tip of the Texas, they get 200.
Oh, okay.
So Texas has a huge variety.
They do. It's a big gap. Yeah. Okay.
So New England, the Great Lakes, and the Pacific Northwest, they generally get anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 chilling hours per year. And what that does is it resets the clock in the apple tree And here in Texas, what happens is the clock kind of gets reset. We have a warm thing. The tree thinks it's time to wake up, and then we get a cold blast. Mm-hmm. And that is typically a big challenge for our crop, because then the blooms will fall and you won't get fruit set,
right,
and things like that. But up there, they have a more continuous.
Yeah, when it's time to get cold, we're up and down. We could be 30 and then 80.
30, yes. So here in Texas, the Texas AgriLife, the A&M AgriLife website has a whole chart of apple trees that you could look up that would be appropriate for your area. I would encourage you to go look there. And what you want to do is choose your variety to fall within 150 hours of your zone. Mm-hmm. And so maybe for us, that would be 600 to 750 or something like that, And then, I think that is very good. Apple trees like deep, well-drained soil. Well, we don't have that
we
here.
We don't have that.
They also like a pH level like 6.5 to 7. And one of the reasons why it's a challenge where we live is because our soil is more alkaline. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it really promotes the development of the cotton root rot. Not the old cotton root rot. But anyway, so when you're growing your apple tree, like we actually have we have 2 apple trees that have got to survive. Yeah. And what I like to do is put a acidic improvement into the soil to kind of help them out. Anyways, also with apple trees, what's really important is that you need several varieties to get pollination. And typically, we've relied on the bees.
Right.
And I think in Europe, they rely heavily on the honeybees. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a challenge. But here in Texas, our bumblebees will actually pollinate the apple trees. And last year, we actually got an apple.
We did.
I know. It's so exciting.
Well, we've talked before about the bumblebees. We didn't see any when we first moved here. Now remember I used to say, oh, gosh, I wish we'd see the big bumblebees. But now they're crazy out there.
They are.
So that's good.
Right?
That's good for us.
Great.
Yeah, that's really good.
Last night, we were just elbow to elbow with one.
Yeah.
He was just doing his little thing.
Yeah, they're out there every day. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. When you select your varieties, see if you could get the varieties to bloom like in the same time period. They don't all have to be exactly the same, but over the 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, to see if they could kind of overlap. Mm-hmm. And then you'll be able to encourage your pollination.
Okay. I like it. One thing that when I was up north, it's so fun because they allow you to, we can go to the stands, but they also allow you, a lot of the places will allow you to, pick your own, which kind of goes to your point of the trees are not 40 feet high. But that was always cool because you could go grab a basket, go through and pick your own apples.
I love it.
No, that's kind of neat. And it's neat because it's, up in the Northeast, it's cool now too.
I know.
So, it's
so
cool.
Cozy.
You get to pick apples and ooh, it's nice. I do miss that part.
You can come back and drink your apple cider.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I love every year is the apple cider donuts.
Oh man, those are the best.
So good.
Yeah. I love apples, and I like the Granny. I'm a Granny Smith guy, but I like all of them.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the different varieties.
No.
You do generally like the tart.
I do like the tart ones.
Flavor.
Yeah,
and Granny Smiths are so good for pies. Mm-hmm. They're good. They hold their shape really well when you bake with them. Mm-hmm. And they're good apple.
Yeah, I like that's my personal favorite.
I think I might be a Honeycrisp girl.
Yeah, you've always liked you've always been,
Honeycrisp.
that's kind of your thing, your jam.
I don't really lean towards the red delicious and the yellow delicious, but I read just a tiny snippet while I was reading is that Johnny Appleseed is why we actually have the yellow delicious apple, is that the seeds that he planted crossed, and that apple developed and people began selecting for it. Which I thought was super interesting.
I know.
He was a man that he wore clothing, old clothing, like he traded apple trees for old clothing or whatever. He traveled the country, but when he passed away, he actually was a huge property owner, and he had he had built up a wealth of.
Yeah.
He was a very smart businessman.
That's cool.
So,
yeah, a little different than the Johnny Appleseed story.
Interesting
story.
A
little bit different, but
yes. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that people really like him for is that he was a very kind person. He was a generous person as well. So
very nice. Yeah. I mean, they wrote story about him, so
I know.
He was the man. Mr. Seed.
Mr. Seed.
Awesome.
Well, I think in part 2, we'll do a little further exploration of the apple.
Nice.
And I was going to hand it over and see if you were ready for...
Well, Hey, welcome to Jeff's Corner. I don't have a lot. I'm going to do a couple little apple-y things with you. And I don't want to steal your thunder from next week.
Steal it.
Let me give you a little quiz. Quiz the bird. Quiz the birdie.
Oh man, did I have any answers prepared? Let me get my notes.
You might or may not know
I need
these.
my notes.
Mary, do you know how many apple tree leaves it takes to produce one apple? The energy from how many leaves on a tree to produce just one apple?
I am going to answer that by saying that each apple is grown on what's called a spur. I am going to estimate 3 leaves.
Well,
let
me tell you, it takes the energy from 50 apple tree leaves to produce one apple.
50?
50. That's pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
I know. Well, and when you see the trees, they are very full. So, 50 is a lot, but that does kind of make sense. Now, do you know how many seeds the average apple contains?
10.
And I'm going to disagree with this because I've eaten apples. Here's what it says. It says 5.
Oh.
But when you get in the core, I don't know, maybe 5 seems a little, but that's what my quiz is telling me.
Okay, 5 seeds. So
the average apple. I mean, there could be more or less, but that might be true because they're big seeds. They're not, a bunch of little ones. So, do you know what the science of growing apples is called? Ooh.
Pomeranian?
Oh, that's close. Pomology.
Pomology.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
You're doing pretty good. I just kind of threw these at you. Now, do you know what the star-shaped bottom of an apple is called? You know the little star on the bottom of the apple?
Yes. And that's why I was thinking that the 5 seeds could make sense because it does seem to have a 5. So, tetra something?
It's called a calyx.
Oh, yes.
Now you know it, don't you?
It comes off of the flower. It's the bottom of the flower.
I hear. Oh. Now, Mary, do you know how many pounds of apples the average American eats? Fresh apples each year. The average American.
Well,
this is a lot. It's a lot. It's more than I would have thought. Now, these are fresh apples. Although, you know what? We go to the store and I buy a lot of sliced stuff. And so we do eat a lot of apples.
Well, I always buy the bags of the little apples, and then we do our apple dishes. So each year,
how many pounds?
150 pounds.
Oh my gosh, no, 16 pounds.
Oh,
woo, wowzer, bowser.
Oh, no.
That would have been crazy.
Well, 16 pounds sounds more appropriate.
Okay, and I got one more for you. Do you know why apples float?
I didn't. Oh, hey.
Do you know this one?
I don't know why they float.
Oh, you don't?
I don't know, but I know a game that we play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They float because they're actually 85% water.
Wow.
That's why they can float. And then, of course, the game.
Wow.
I know the game you're thinking about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And earlier, when I was talking about how people would need to eat to drink the hard cider, the other thing I forgot to mention was that as you were going along, another way to get water was to eat the fruits.
Yeah.
And so the apple provided
See that? 85%
that triggered
water.
that memory.
Yeah. All right. You did good.
5% water. Okay.
Those are kind of abstract things. Unless you're in the apple business, you probably don't know that.
I love it.
But yeah, pretty cool stuff. The only other little thing I've got is, as you know, one of my favorite poets is Robert Frost.
Yes.
And my favorite poem is called After Apple Picking. And it's a great poem. And the great part is, if you go out on the internet, you can actually find where he himself is reading the poem. And it's you can find other people reading it. But it really, to get the impact of it, you got to have him read it, because he's just, his voice, he was much older when he recorded it. But it really kind of makes the whole poem come to, it works with the poem.
Mm-hmm.
But I would encourage you to go out there and just take a listen. There's some short snippets out there of a couple of minutes you can just go through. But it's called After Apple Picking by Robert Frost.
I love Robert Frost.
Yeah, I do too. He's my favorite guy. That's all I got for Jeff's Corner. I stumped you this time. Woohoo!
Totally stumped me.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to steal some of your facts, but I was listening intently, and you didn't put those out there. So
I didn't. I love that.
I could use them. And then, of course, just I think next week we're going to talk about some other stuff with apples, and
we might
I'll
be
have
getting
some ideas.
ready for Halloween.
Halloween's right around the corner. All right, that's all I got, Mary.
Well, the only thing I have left to talk about are some resources that you might turn to get a little more information if you're interested in growing apple trees.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to learn about the history of apples, there is a wealth of information. But these are a few that I think are really kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I've mentioned before. It's called Grow a Little Fruit Tree. It's written by Anne Ralph. I own it. I give it 5 stars. Mm-hmm. And that's the system I'm using to grow the fruit trees in our backyard, because you could grow a small orchard and keep everything very small, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The other one is by a gentleman that I've listened to on YouTube for a very long time. His name is Michael Phillips, and his book is called The Holistic Orchard. I don't own this book, but I am going to be looking for it. And he just has a way of describing how to grow apples and other fruits too, I believe. And it's easy to understand. It's not hard. It's really for a individual, not like a commercial grower. Mm-hmm. It's really for an individual to grow a good, have fun growing it and do things. He's very interesting. As always, I'm a big fan of the Texas AgriLife. Mm-hmm. I really encourage you to go out there and read about it. They do have one article that lists varieties that are super available for Texas, different zones in Texas. And you know what I learned? is that the University of Texas has an orchard and pollinator garden.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
On campus.
Interesting.
I put a star by it because I think we should go visit it.
Yeah. I wonder where it's at. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It's located by the biology building. And, when we used to go to the Perry Castaneda Library?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you could
yeah.
look
And they
out
had
over the greenhouse.
Yeah.
It might be
maybe
somewhere in there.
Okay,
I'm
that'd be
not sure.
interesting. Yeah, cool.
So I might like to give that. Now, Texas Gardener Magazine is a terrific publication, and I do think that they have been around a very long time. I think that they would have some good articles too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jeffrey, I have completed my
very good
discussions.
Very appley.
Today.
We're some applers.
I'm excited about next week too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to maybe cooking up some of these cute little recipes.
That sounds great to me.
Talking about how we got the recipes.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, good. Well, as always, everyone, we appreciate you joining us here at Mary Bird's Backyard Garden. If you're out there on your favorite listening platform, if you'd give us a rating or comment, and we'd appreciate that if you don't mind doing that for us. Other than that, I think we're done with this episode, Mary.
I do believe.
We're going to call it the Apple episode, part 1.
It's the apple of your eye.
All right, everyone. We appreciate you joining. We'll see you next week here at Mary Bird's Backyard Garden. And if you get a chance, don't forget to go out and listen to Robert Frost read After Apple Picking.